Yo, 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 what is up, crypto, YouTube? Okay, that was a little exciting, huh? I don't usually come out quite that aggressive, do I? Welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name, as always, still remains to be MK. And in today's video, we're not going to do anything too special. We're just going to quickly kind of discuss the SPX, a short trade, actually a long trade followed by a short trade that I made yesterday on Bitcoin. Just kind of discuss how I scalp trade on the 1 minute time frame. It was something I was posting in my group, in my Telegram group, which I will leave a link in the description for if you guys would like to join that. It's completely free. Come over there and hang out with us. So we'll discuss that, and then we'll kind of just discuss, you know, the general, I guess, outlook of what I expect over Bitcoin maybe over the next day or two, or, you know, several hours at least. And if you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. Alright, so at the time of making this video, the SPX, or the S&P 500, has just closed. I'm in the United States, and it's mountain time, so for me it closes at 2 p.m. My time, which is obviously 4 p.m. Eastern time. And as we can see, now I didn't make a video yesterday, but I did post this in my group, that yesterday we had broken down, obviously, out of this large falling wedge to the downside, which obviously isn't a good thing. And we were right at the resistance of retesting it, which is what's known as a bearish retest, right? You lose an area, you retest it bearishly, if it was previously support, turns it into resistance. Before you had all the buyers waiting there. Once it loses that level, now you have everybody waiting to sell there, right? So then it puts pressure on it, and usually it goes down, right? If it doesn't, if it's able to lose an area, regain it, bullishly retest it, then this is what's known as a bear trap. People that were expecting to short at that point, you know, they get trapped because it regains this level that it just lost and goes up. Well, that was what I'd mentioned in the group was the hope, but I also had pointed out that this a long upper and lower wick equals indecision candle. And what I meant by that is if you, let's delete this real quick, this stuff over here. If you zoom into just that candle, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit on it. If you zoom into just that candle, can you see what I mean as far as it looks kind of like, I can't remember what those things are called, the diode or something, little resistor. Anybody that's used those before in electrical work, they have the little body here in the middle, and then you have a wick that's basically equal on both sides. And there is a name for this candle. I'm just, at the time of making this video, I haven't looked it up. And that's not a candle I trade. I just know that what the sentiment of this candle, or what it means more or less, is indecision in the market, right? Obviously, there were some people that were bullish that were keeping price up. There were people that were bearish that were selling and putting price down, and then you just have this little candle in the middle. If it had been even thinner, the actual body, that would be even more of an indecision candle. In fact, you know, let's just really quickly Google it as well, right? And voila, I found it. Okay, so this is a site. It's www.ig.com / a whole bunch of crap. I could actually leave a link in the description because this I did find this pretty useful. It just goes over like the top 10 or top 15 or something candles that every trader should know. And a lot of these I've heard of, and you know, I don't obviously trade candlesticks personally. I know there are traders out there that do and are super successful, so you know, over time that's something I want to learn more about. But I mean, I know what some of the general candles are that you should pay attention to, and I just didn't know the name of this particular one, but it's called the spinning top. It is a candlestick pattern that has a short body centered between wicks of equal length. The pattern indicates indecision in the market, resulting in no meaningful change in price. The bulls sent the price higher while the bears pushed it low again, just like I was saying. Spinning tops are often interpreted as a period of consolidation or rest following a significant uptrend or downtrend, which in this case of the SPX, obviously it's been a downtrend. On its own, the spinning top is a relatively benign signal. I guess that would basically just mean it's not one that really means much, but they could be interpreted as a sign of things to come, as it signifies that the current market pressure is losing control. So if the current market, so it's basically saying if the current market pressure, which in this case is to the downside, is losing control, you would take that as maybe there being a chance that it could reverse to the upside, you know, sooner than later. To be honest with you, I took it more as just indecision. And the reason there was indecision was the Fed had just come out. They announced yesterday the 0.75 basis points, or a 0.75% rate hike, which was obviously very hawkish and aggressive. And the last rate hike, the same thing kind of happened, where right after it got announced, which was 0.5, you know, of last month, that actually didn't crash the market that day, surprisingly, but it did the next day. So I don't know, you know, if there was certain bigger wells just trying to keep things upright for one day. before they exited positions. I don't really know a lot about why that would be, but that literally was the same thing. And I even had a member in my group, shout out to Tristan is his name, that pointed that out as we were kind of discussing this yesterday. We all were kind of giving our opinions on, not this candlestick, not this candle per se, but just what we thought the market would do based on that rate hike. And he had mentioned, well, previously, or the last time, it didn't crash that day, but it had the big pullback the next day, obviously, and Bitcoin followed. And so this is kind of what's happening. And it's just to go back to what I'd been stating on my previous videos. I did mention in the video 2 days ago that there was a high likelihood, let me do that there was a high likelihood that we would lose that support at some point. That wasn't going to surprise me. And if we did, I had said we'd go down most likely to my my blue area here, which is just this next level of major, see my head's on the way, right? Okay. Just this next area of significance, right, where you had resistance, it was able to flip it as support and then go higher. Well, right now we don't really have, we're kind of in no man's land. You have little tiny areas of support, which is why this did, close today here. It's in the middle of nowhere. It could easily start up tomorrow, go up to here, it could go down a little bit further. It may not get to this blue line, this blue area of support all in one day or even 2 days, but that would just be my hunch, is that this is going to trickle its way down here at some point over the coming days. And, I would imagine that would hold up at least for a little bit. Maybe you do see a little rally at that point back up to here, something like that. Maybe it ranges in here for a bit. But right now, the sentiment in the market is just not good. So expecting any sort of major reversal, over the next few weeks to even months is more unlikely, as well as just say. From a statistical standpoint, if it was just TA, sure, if it was just TA, this was a large falling wedge, which had a 68% chance of breaking to the upside, right? But why didn't it? Why did it break the opposite direction that the pattern suggested that it should? Well, it's because of the economy, right? And just the way things are going with money and inflation and all that. So it's hard to expect any bullish sentiment at this point, but as traders, the nice thing is we can trade the market both ways. And that's what I was doing yesterday with Bitcoin. I was zoomed into a 1-minute chart. Let me show you real quick just a little bit of that from my Telegram group. All right, and as always, the link will be in the description for my Telegram group. We're getting a little bit bigger every day. Actually been a little stagnant for the last few days, but obviously the market in general is just down right now, so I don't think there's a lot of interest, not a lot of new retail coming into YouTube, but that'll happen over time, right? I'm not too worried about it. I'll stick with the channel and it will grow, but it is still, we have still had some members join over the last week or so. I think we're up to probably like 13 active members. It shows we have 20 or 22 or something in our main chat section, but since those people didn't join the other groups, I'm guessing some of them are just fake accounts or whatever, right? I know that Telegram gets a lot of that, just like Twitter does. But anyway, this is my Bitcoin only spot within my TA with MK Telegram group. And yesterday I was just kind of tracking this symmetrical triangle potentially, and then as it developed, I was just updating the group. I was just showing them how to scalp trade essentially on Bitcoin, or how I scalp trade. And I was just zoomed into a 1-minute chart. I knew that on the hourly, we had actually broken above a resistance. I can't remember exactly what the resistance would have been. I guess it would probably be this resistance down here. This candlestick on the 1 minute. On the hour, that was a candle with a lot of volume. And so anytime you have volume to the either direction, it kind of tells you at least the short-term sentiment that there was buyers there ready to buy, and quite a bit of them. And so my overall sentiment for yesterday was to the upside, at least in the short term. But I was watching this symmetrical triangle, which was starting to move here, and I just mentioned, hey, we just need to see some more volume. And then at that point, I redrew it and said, okay, we moved out of that, but I'm looking at this resistance level and this potential ascending triangle to be my next point. And I'd already opened my long position based on this breakout, and I put my stop loss just back inside the pattern, back down here, just under like 21, whatever it was at the time. It was like 21.4 or something like that. And, I was just tracking it as it went. It broke higher. That's what I wanted to point out, though, is at a certain point I posted this. I said the green dots represent higher lows and higher highs. So far, we've held that structure, looking for a short-term short if and when we finally put in a lower low. We'll look to enter Bitcoin short on a lower high to follow. And, so this was just us trending up. And what I meant by that is you see these green dots, you had this low, this high, this was a higher low, this high was higher than the previous high, this low was higher than the previous low. And so we were just holding that uptrend structure. And then I also mentioned here that it was making a parabolic curve, that this was probably base 5. I was just basically setting up for the idea that a short was coming soon. And another thing I pointed out was I said that if you look at this high here, so we had this high up here, right? Came down. We've talked about this previously on the channel, but you had an area we were bouncing that was basically a double bottom. Well, what you do to find the double bottom is just the high that was in the middle, which was this one here. That becomes the neckline. So in order to confirm a double bottom, you need to break above the neckline, which in this case I've notated here, and then retest it as support. You can see we broke up here, retested this area as support. At that point, it confirmed the double bottom. And that's how I came up with this measured move of 22,959, which was where I was eyeing to short if we made it there, right? And that was kind of the idea that I've been playing with for quite some time. Then I put here that, hey, it's not confirmed yet, but this could be our potential first lower high at least. It wasn't a lower low, but a lower high. And eventually, I pointed this out. I said, oh, this looks like it could be a double top, but we still hadn't hit my measured move at that point, and we still hadn't technically broken structure. I was just showing that there were some signs of weakness beginning to show. And then finally, here we go. Look, we hit my target almost perfectly, which just shows you that TA, even on a 1-minute time frame, can still work. And that's what a scalp trade is. And at that point, I closed my long, obviously. and opened up a short. I didn't actually get that top perfectly. I think I closed my long actually just under it, because normally you want to try to make sure that, you know, if you have a target, it's always good to close just under it, take profits just under it, because a lot of other people will. So you try to front run that. So I actually closed it around 22,830, and then I actually opened my short at 22,830. Well, I wanted to add to that short once we were able to confirm a lower low, which we did. And at this point, I was looking at ideas of where we could possibly bounce. I had said I'd like to add to my short if we went up here, and we actually just never did. So I didn't get to add to my short, but I did point out at one point when it was at, oh, there it actually shows my entry price right there, 22,830. That at the time it was at 22,270, which obviously now we're significantly lower. I was 12% in profits, and that's just been the short that I've been, you know, holding now since yesterday. And then just to kind of wrap things up for today, again, I'm not really a YouTuber that really makes price predictions because I do so much scalp trading, especially in these market conditions. Obviously, when it's the beginning of a bull run or the middle of the heat of a bull run, everybody looks smart because basically you can hold on to anything, especially the safer cap coins, and they're going to go up, right? Everything's just going to go up during a bull market. And then, you know, you could, all the flip side of that, I guess, if you were to start shorting from the top, and you actually had your TA set up to where you started shorting at say 60K or 65K back November of last year, then everything is going down over time. You're smart. But as far as day-to-day trading, which is a lot of what I do, it's hard to really make price predictions beyond maybe a few hours, right? But if you ask me my general, I guess, sentiment, or not sentiment, but what I think the more obvious, what's the more likely, there's the word I'm looking for, what's the more likely direction we go in the short term? Probably just sideways. I mean, we're kind of in this range now, which could also be known somewhat as a bear flag. It didn't come into it as steep as what I consider a bear flag. And what I mean by that is it came down into this area it's consolidating in. If it came in a little bit sharper and then started doing this, to me that's more of a bear flag, but it's still not a bullish pattern in my opinion, because it came down into it, right? And now we're just in this range, top, bottom, top, bottom. Now, if we break out of this little falling wedge that I'm tracking right now, which is very possible because we're a little bit oversold on some of the time frames, okay, we most likely would make a run back up here to say somewhere around 21,300. Real bullish, maybe we go back up to 21,500. And if we were to somehow break above that, I would expect a bull trap, honestly. Anything that breaks above this, I just don't see us flipping that and suddenly running back up to 23 or 24K or anything like that. What I think is more likely is that maybe over the next, 4 or 5 hours or something, the rest of today, maybe we at some point go back up to at least 21.3 or 21.5 like I talked about. And then I think at some point this lower area will break. That's just my opinion. Obviously I'll be watching the charts closely and looking for signs of that. But with the SPX, in my opinion, more likely to go down over the next few days to a week, at least to visit that blue area of support we talked about in the beginning. I think at some point this support breaks, and that's just a question at that point, do we put in a new low than 20,000? I personally believe we do. I think it's important at some point, and it's probably sooner than later, we will likely test 19K, which to me is the more significant level than actually 20, right? We've talked about that in a previous video. That is the actual area. It's just over 19K, but between 19, 19.5, that was where the actual top was in 2017. It wasn't 20K. 20K is just a psychological number, and there are a lot of buyers waiting there. But at some point, that's going to break. I think 19K will obviously get tested. I would imagine it would at least hold up for the first time. And in tomorrow's video, I'm going to discuss a little bit of an update on, my plan for Bitcoin. Just kind of follow up on my 2 videos I had previously made where I discussed my plan for accumulating Bitcoin and my time frames and so forth. But also just when I think it's likely from a time perspective that we may break down and possibly visit those levels. So look for that in tomorrow's video. Well, if that just wasn't life-changing and invigorating, I don't know what is. I mean, I came at you with a super excited intro. I'm going to come at you with a super exciting outro. No, just kidding, guys. I do appreciate y'all, and I hope everybody's keeping their head up during these tough times, keeping a smile on your face. And I appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by. If you're liking the content, as always, do me a favor and like and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow. It's TX.